Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Ashley and I am the owner and CEO of Unabashedlyou, which I'll link below. I create beautiful artwork with pops of color, and it was birthed from a desire to see women who look like me represented in a positive way. In this tutorial, we will be using Procreate. For information on how to download, how much it costs, please see my link below. Lastly, my tutorials are designed to be nice and relaxing, so feel free to get a glass of wine, cup of tea, get real comfy, and let's get started. So as usual, we're going to be starting with a screen-sized canvas on Procreate. We're going to make sure that we have our studio pen selected. You can find that under inking, studio pen. We're going to make sure that our studio pen is black. We're going to make sure that we have size 4. We're going to start with the outline of the lips. So what I like to do first is I'll create the top portion of the lip first. And these curves do not have to be perfect. No one's lips are perfect. And then we're going to do the under portion of the lip. And it's kind of like a bowl shape. Remember, you can hold the pen down and it'll correct that curve for you. And then I'm going to do the middle portion of the lip. I like to do just a little bit of a lump in the middle. You can look at your own lip and you'll see there's a little bit of a lump. It's not a straight line across. It kind of curves down a little bit. And you can keep redrawing this until you get it the way that you like, but remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. So this is what I like to do. I just like to kind of replicate these lines. As you can see, it's a lot of lines. I don't draw that many, but I like to draw those lines because it kind of shows that the lip is going inward. It kind of gives it kind of a little bit of a puckering kind of situation going on there. So I'll draw these lines, and remember, they curve with the curvature of the lip. So we're gonna go like this, and then forward, and then to the side. And then I also like to do that on the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this outline layer. But before we duplicate, we're going to make sure that everything is closed off. As you can see, this line isn't closed off. So to give an example, if I were to try and color in this portion that isn't enclosed, it's going to bleed out into the rest of the canvas because it isn't closed off. And it's showing Procreate that everything should be filled in. If I close that portion off, now if I try to fill it in, it'll only fill in that top lip. So we're going to go back, and then we're going to go ahead and duplicate that top layer a couple of times. And remember, this top layer we're not going to touch because that's the outline. And what I'm going to do for these lower layers is I'm going to make one layer the top lip and one layer the bottom. So let's go ahead and start coloring in. So as you know, or as you have seen in other videos, what I like to do is select a skin tone, and my skin tone is usually between orange and red right in here. And as you can see, if you pull your slider across, you get all these different skin tones right in that portion. So I'm going to stick here in the middle like we usually do. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull that color in for the top lip. And as you'll notice with your lips as well, the bottom lip is always lighter than the top. So we're gonna, oh, see, I love teaching real time. I didn't make sure that I was on the right layer. So what I can do is I can either go back, or I can take this and I can pull this on top and make that my outline layer. Either way. So just make sure that this top layer is untouched and doesn't have any color fill. So I'm gonna go down to the lower layer for my lower lip. I'm gonna take this same color, make sure I have that selected, and then I'm just going to make it slightly lighter. And I'm going to pull that color in. So now we have the top and the bottom. So now we're going to go into shading, and another reason why we have more than one layer is because we're going to use clipping masks. So we're going to select this top layer, we're going to add a layer, and we're going to clip that layer to that top lip so that any type of shading that we're going to be doing is only going to show up in the portion that that layer is clipped to. So we're going to take that base color, we're going to select it, and then we're going to make the color slightly darker. We're going to select our airbrushing tool and make sure we have medium brush selected. We're going to make sure that the size is big enough to be able to see. And we're basically gonna start shading. So as you look at your own lips, or you can look at mine, there's darker shades towards the corner, and then it continues underneath, and then dark over here. And so what that's basically doing is creating the illusion that the lip is sticking out. Because when you look to the side, this portion, this top portion of your lip is protruding more so than the inner portion. And then we're going to do the same for the bottom. So we're going to select the bottom layer, we're going to create a new layer, we're going to clip that layer to the bottom layer, we're going to select the color of the bottom layer lip, and then we're going to make that slightly darker. And we're going to go ahead and create that shading. Now here, the shading kind of starts from the corner and it hits underneath here. There's a little bit more of a deeper shade under here because your lip is sticking out, and that's just kind of like the shadow that hits underneath your lip, and then it comes back around. So we're going to create that effect. So it's darker under here like this, and you want to make sure it kind of tapers off, and that you never want it to be a hard line. And you can taper it off by holding your brush, holding your pen a little bit lighter, like with less pressure. So we have that kind of shading effect here. And then now we're going to do the highlights. So what we're going to do is we're just going to create one layer for the highlights, because the highlights are all the same color. So what I'll do is I'll create a layer on top of the colored portion of the lip and underneath the outline portion, because I don't want the highlights to show up on top of the outline, but I do want the highlights to show up on top of the rest of the lip. So I'm going to take the lightest portion of the lip and I'm going to create an even lighter shade, and this is going to be our highlights. So our highlights are here, and then there's highlights here. Create a highlight here, around the top of the lip. And then we're going to create a highlight here in the middle of the lip. And we're just going to do little lines that create a bit of a sheen here. I'll make it slightly smaller so I can make more defined lines. And I'll speckle those here and there to create a little bit more of a highlighted effect. And so now I'm just going to go in and touch up different portions of the lip. I'm going to make some places darker, some places a little bit lighter. I'm going to make sure that everything's kind of blending the way that I want. So I'll go over here to this darker portion. I think I'm going to make this slightly darker, because I want this to kind of stick out a little bit more here. I'm going to make the edges slightly more dark, just to give the illusion that the lips are sticking out even more than they currently are. I think that this area on the bottom lip could use a little bit of a darker shade. There's no shading going on here, whereas there's shading going on top. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to make that a little bit darker. I'm going to create a little bit of shading going here, so that when the lips touch, there's a little bit more of a shade there. I'm going to create a little bit more of a shade on the bottom. If it's not showing up, that means it's not dark enough, because I feel like we have a little bit more of a darker shade under here. Just like that. And you just kind of play around with it. And then I'm going to go to my highlight section, and I think I'm going to make the highlights up here just a little bit more defined, so that the tip of the lip you can really see poking out. Draw a little bit more here, probably make it a little bit lighter, get a little bit more of a shine here in different places, and then voila, lips. So that concludes this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And I have a shop online at Unabashedlyou. Everything will be linked below. God bless.